Last but not least, we welcome Darrell M. Blocker, retired CIA operative and COO of MOSAIC. Darrell has had a 32-year career in the U.S. intelligence community and was the most senior Black CIA officer in the Directorate of Operations, with a rank equivalent to a 3-star general before joining the corporate world. Darrell is an ABC News contributor and serves 2 great nonprofits. Darrell now lives in LA after a lifetime residing and working in foreign countries in Africa, Asia, and Europe. Welcome, Darrell.
I really appreciate being here, and nice to meet you and see you as well, Gary.
It's a real pleasure, Darrell. So, you know, obviously you have an incredibly, I like how it has retired on the CIA operative part.
You actually do retire. It's not the mafia.
From your perspective and coming from your angle, which is why we wanted to have a bunch of different angles here, what do you see from consumer behavior that is an enabler to growth in 2021, or observations or opportunities?
Well, the guest that you had on about 2 iterations ago talked about how corporate America 10 months ago would never have considered the fact that they could run a business with most of their personnel not physically in a brick and mortar location. And at this point, it's not going to go back to what it was. All these businesses are going to have to recognize that that the paradigm has shifted. And so from someone who's looking at it from the perspective of someone involved in a intelligence and security firm, 2 things jump out at me. The global Internet of Things, which includes, pandemic fatigue, which could include insider threat or insider risk or insider trust, however your company defines it. And it is going to change when you go from being on a system at work to using your own private, your private devices, your laptop, your iPad, and your phone, which of course are all connected. And if the bad guy, so to speak, someone trying to steal your IP has access to one, then essentially they have access to all. So looking at the Internet of Things, looking at the vulnerability of people's home systems, and not being as diligent as if they would in the office space is a vulnerability that I think everyone should be concerned with. And as an ancillary to that, the mental health of your workers. Most people enjoyed getting up and leaving the home. There were stresses at home that you could kind of get away from in the workplace. And now that they're both combined, that stress is there. The stress, of course, causes people to do things that they might not otherwise do, including opening up an email, a phishing email that allows somebody to have system access that you would otherwise not want them to do. So just the fatigue of dealing with the pandemic and the stress of maybe not being able to meet your mortgage might make you more liable to fall for the outreach from a firm that's really the Chinese government or the Russian government or whoever it is that's targeting you.
What do you think is most fascinating about the marketing that you consume? Have you gotten a sense of your own self at this point in your life, of the things that capture your attention and you get excited about?
I do. And so essentially I have 3 kind of bailiwicks that I'm involved in now. So I'm doing my creative side. I'm working with entertainment media ventures, and we're creating human interest stories with a twist of espionage. So I'm able to kind of pull in some of my past lives into my creative world. And there is an art to an intelligence, and there's some science to it as well. But I'm tapping into the creative side. I'm working with foster youth and kind of tying in some of those stories into my creative side. And for MOSAIC, of which I'm still kind of involved in the intel security work, I'm doing some of the things like tracking down defrauders. And so all my worlds, all the things that I truly enjoy doing, reading, studying, figuring out puzzles, I'm able to kind of do with foster youth and youth that have a foster care experience for Peace for Kids. I'm able to tie that into a storyline for a pitch that might be coming up the Hollywood side of what I'm doing. And I'm also pursuing that through MOSAIC and chasing bad guys. I'm not chasing Al Qaeda or ISIS anymore, but there are a lot of bad people out there doing a lot of bad things to people that love them, people that were partnered with them, some people that were even, related to them. So I have 3 passions and I get to use them all kind of simultaneously.
How just to take a left field turn for some of the entrepreneurs that are listening, what are your recommendations around self-awareness and patience and, context and pattern recognition? Some of the things that I'm sure inevitably led to you being in a place where you're still a young man and able to do all your passions. Any thoughts on like tried and true principles that give you the leverage to be in a happy state in what you do?
Trust. It really boils down to trust. Trust is the currency of an intelligence operative. Trust is the currency of every marketing strategy that's ever been developed. And so I work a lot on building trust, and you build trust slowly. You build trust by making sure that person that you're dealing with, the person that you're talking with, feels valued, that they feel that they actually have a role in whatever mission you have laid out, the new campaign for Land O'Lakes or for Harley or for the CIA. They're really not that different. And it boils down to the personal connections that you should have with your employees. If you only know them as, whatever their employee number is or the job that they do, then you're not doing enough, because their cubby will probably give you a little about who they are, whether they're a sports fan or whether, they prefer animals or they got pictures of their grandchildren or whatever it is. People decorate themselves in a way that allows you to engage them on a personal level without making it kind of creepy. But once people feel like you actually see them, that you actually care about how they spent their weekend, or not just the latest numbers that need to be provided. So building trust, and it's a daily thing. It's a daily outreach, and it should never be a drain. It should just be as easy as breathing, as easy as walking into the office and acknowledging that person. When someone walks into your office, Control-Alt-Delete. That person could have gone anywhere in the world, but they came to you. That level of intimacy when it comes to connecting with your people.
Build on that. Talk to me about the role from your perspective, given your career and your angles and your observations around intuition.
Intuition is ingrained into our DNA. We are the only species on the planet that talks ourselves out of something that we know could be dangerous. And that, whether the hair is falling up on the back of your neck, intuition is huge. The CIA, when they're looking for someone like myself, someone who is an operations officer and not a spy, I'm a spy handler, recruited and handled spies, and there's semantics, but there is a huge difference. And what they're looking for is a collection of intellectual, social, and personality traits that allow you to be affable, that allow you to be resilient, that allow you to engage in other cultures and learn more about the person that you're talking to than yourself, and wanting them to listen. So listening is huge. And one of the wisest people I ever knew, who just happens to be my ex-wife, says that listening is not waiting for your turn to speak. So if you think you're a good listener, I would surmise that you should ask your partner and then work on it from there, because I can pretty much guarantee you that you're not the listener that you think you are.
Do you think that people have different listening styles? Because this is a category that I spend a lot of time on. I'm surprised by how or I actually use talking to listen. I haven't gone deep in this to educate myself on what they are, but I'm extremely aware of its truth, and I see it in others as a listening mechanism. Have you explored listening enough to add to this conversation and context? Because I think silence is not listening. I see it every day. Right.
Yes, I agree. Because listening is more than just with your ears. You're listening with your being, literally. And people, every one of us has been in a conversation where the person you're talking to is doing this motion, and they're just waiting for their turn to speak. So they're not really engaged. They're not really listening to you. When you're not being listened to, look for the body signs. You'll know if you're not getting through. The person's starting to fidget. You're looking for anything that suggests that their brain is, or their thoughts are elsewhere. So you learn how to listen to the agent who's telling you these secrets, who's telling you things about them that they've never shared with anyone else. You're listening when the ambassador calls you in and talks about how something you're doing might impact American policy. You learn how to listen a lot more, or you end up on the wrong side of history in our organization, getting on the being in front of however many people we're in front of right now is just not a place most people at CIA want to be. So listening keeps you out of trouble as well.
I really appreciate your insights, my friend. I wish you a tremendous holiday, and I think you brought a lot of more context to this incredible event. Thank you.
I really appreciate the time. Thank you.